All right,
That's
cool. Once you relay to me, I'm going to relay to Jessie. Just the same.
Yeah, no, I can hear it. So.
Okay, cool. So just relay it to me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell her. If you can let Aiden know, Aiden will let me know too. Wow. Hearing Regia in my ear. Beautiful. DraftKings. Gotta tweet that out, Brock. 45 seconds away. Ball open hard. What an afternoon here. What a marvelous Monday. We're taking class outside, kids.
And on the agenda, we're talking baseball, which offenses you want to stack, and which pitchers you should pay up for.
How about Rays infielder Daniel Robertson? I hear he's pretty good at fantasy sports, so he's going to give us his secret to success. He will be on the program.
And what about FedEx Cup playoffs? We're talking golf. Which players you should be considering rostering?
Let's go ahead and sprinkle some NFL in there as well. Remember, this show is called The Sweat, so you don't have to.
That does not make sense.
So, about having the show outside today, people. Man, all you guys look really handsome. We did try to take class outside. It didn't really work, but we're here with you. This is The Sweat. She's Jessie. I'm Emerson. We're going to try to make your Monday suck a little less.
Starting with our baseball guys who you just saw, Gary and Thorne, Steve Buchanan, and Julian Edlow, and Chaser Fade is the name of the game. You tell us if you agree or disagree with the following statements and why. Steve, we're going to have you start us off tonight. Garrett Cole is clearly $2,000 better than any other pitcher on this slate. Do you chase or fade this?
Fade this one. Zach Wheeler, baby. That's the guy you're going to go with on this slate. Look, Cole's matchup is great against the Mariners that are absolutely struggling right now. The last 2 weeks, the Mariners have just a 295 WOBA with a 160 isolated power, but just a 19 K percentage. And that K percentage is what worries me because I feel like it's going to be hard for Cole to reach value. I mean, look, we're talking about Garrett Cole, one of the best K guys in the league right now, but the Mariners simply aren't striking out right now. With how high that salary is for Cole, $13,300. That's a big salary to swallow there and to trust that he'll reach value. I don't trust Kluber against Boston's offense. I don't trust Porcello because he struggles against lefties a lot in that Indians lineup. They have a ton in there tonight. So hello, Zach Wheeler.
Garion, 13-3. Is that too much for you? Would you pay up? Are you chasing or fading this?
I think you have to fade it. I mean, he might actually be $2,000 better than some of these pitchers, but that's not the game we're playing here. He's got to face a team that, as Steve mentioned, does not strike out in the Mariners. In fact, we've done this 2 times in the last 3 weeks. We know he doesn't strike out Seattle. Did have 8 strikeouts in one start, but didn't hit value in that start either. I mean, you go back his last 7 outings. He's been amazing by the advanced numbers. 1.23 FIP, a 35% plus strikeout rate. These are absurd Chris Sale-esque numbers. But the hard fact of the matter is, over that 7-game span, he's only averaging 24.5 DK points. You just can't pay for this type of pitcher if he's not going to get even 2.5 times value. Seattle striking out just over 18% since the All-Star break. you can't pick on them with Cole. I'm completely with Steve here. Zach Wheeler, like a lot of people, is going to be very popular in my lineups tonight.
Wow, Steve and Garion, same team on this one. Julian, what
Don't
about
get used to
you?
it.
Don't get your oh yeah, we should just this is a one-off. Okay, Steve can
Yeah, record. Make sure to record this. It'll never happen again.
All right, Julian, what about you? Do you think that he's worth 13.3, or like these guys have said, is he not going to reach value?
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with these guys, but they knocked it out of the park. And just like Garion said, is Garrett Cole worth $2,000 more than any other pitcher on the slate? Maybe, but there's just no reason to pay $13,300 for him. He could have a great game. We look at his game log. You see 2 of his last 4 starts are against Seattle. He has 14.3 DraftKings points, 22.8 DraftKings points. If he does either of those type of performances at $13,300, he is not going to be worth it. We don't need to target this Kluber-Porcello game with 2 great offenses. There's just so much pitching outside of Zach Wheeler, who I think is a fantastic option and who the 3 of us hyped up last week, who's a great option against San Francisco. There's pitching options $8,000 and less, all the way down to the minimum at $4,000. We have this Bryce Wilson guy starting against the Pirates who aren't playing some of their bats. Way too many cheap pitchers on this slate to validate paying $13K for a guy.
Wow, hot take could go all the way down to $4K right there. Woo!
Yeah,
Setting
sweater
it
meter
off.
was going off there, dude. Well, how about love or hate BVP? We know where you stand, Steven. You cannot ignore Melky Cabrera's .536 career average against Rick Porcello, so chase or fade this, Julian.
All right. Well, you know I'm a BVP guy, as is Steve. I'll chase that you have to know this. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. He's hitting over 500 against him in almost 30 at-bats, 6 extra base hits in there. So this is something you want to know. And at 3,700, he's somebody definitely in GPPs that I would want to consider rostering. That said, I don't think he's a must-play. Rick Porcello's been on a roll lately, but it's definitely something you want to know and want to consider.
Hey, Steve, I know you mentioned earlier you're not very hot on Porcello, so you're going to be rostering Melky tonight.
Well, I know you guys are trying to pull at my heartstrings and you throw a BVP question out there. And you know what? You did. I teared up a little bit when I saw this was on the docket tonight.
You can thank our producers for that, buddy.
Here's the thing. When you get these huge BVP samples, you have to consider, how recent are they? I mean, these 2 haven't faced each other since 2016. The majority of their lineups came in 2011. So it's been a little bit of time since these guys have faced each other. However, like I did mention, lefties against Porcello at Fenway Park is an animal that is not talked about enough, and it's a matchup that Porcello struggles in. 343 WOBA in these matchups, 504 FIP, 8 of his 18 home runs allowed. Fenway Park, obviously a really friendly place for these batters here. That Indians lineup is loaded with left-handed bats tonight. Melky Cabrera is absolutely in play here. $3,700. He's super cheap tonight. If you're going to roster some big bats, Cabrera will help you get them in your lineup.
Gary, are you going to be considering rostering Cabrera here? I mean, Porcello has been kind of alternating between dominant performances and really bad ones. Kind of seems like he's due for a bad one here.
Wouldn't it be amazing if I was the one who bought into the BVP tonight? No,
yes, it would be.
No, there's no possible way I care about this. I commend Julian for turning it around and saying this is something you should at least know. I agree with that. Everyone should be aware that this is a thing, but I think Steve really hit on a great point here. 2016 was the last time these guys actually faced, and for switch hitters specifically like Melky Cabrera, the point of their career in which they currently stand is so important because we've seen the ebbs and flows of his archetype at the plate. This is a guy who back in the day, 6-7 years ago, was pretty fair from each side of the plate. But the last 3 seasons, and this year specifically, he has been so much better as a right-handed hitter than a left-handed hitter. He's got a 170 WRC plus against southpaws. It's sub 60 as a left-handed hitter this year. So, I mean, the price point is fine. The spot in the lineup is fine considering how potent that order is out there in Cleveland. But I really don't want a part of this. This is not a game I'm looking to attack, even if there might be some runs on the board.
All right, guys. Well,
Steve's giggling like a schoolgirl here.
Yeah.
Would you like to share your emotions?
There?
Cabrera could be 20 for 20, but because it's BVP, Gary's like, no part of it. No, I don't want it. That's BVP. I don't like it.
Well, he's not going to lower himself down to you and Julian's level here, it sounds like.
Hot take.
Oh, well,
hot
you
take.
couldn't get that low.
Sweatometer going off. All right, Steve, I'm going to have you start this one out because I feel like you're just ready to go. So because of the offenses involved, this Indians-Red Sox game is the obvious stack of the night. Steve, what do you think?
Okay, so I'm going to fade that one. We're going to play devil's advocate here. I mean, I've been touting how the Indians and the lefties are in a good spot here. But here's what you have to remember, too. This game opened with an 8.5 run projection. Both of these pitchers can twirl gems. It's a legitimate concern. These are two former Cy Young pitchers that are taking the mound. The Indians have dropped in power as of late, only a 143 ISO over the past 2 weeks. The Red Sox are smashing. I mean, but what else is new? I mean, there's nothing new there. But you have to think about the salary here. I mean, rostering all three of the Red Sox outfielders, that's $16,800 right off the get-go. That's a ton of salary to consider going up against someone who's a former Cy Young winner. Kluber has not been that great this season. I don't care how you want to put it. He's just not his former self. But he has gone out there, and he can throw a good game. We just saw the other day, the Red Sox were almost shut out by the Tampa Bay freaking Rays in their bullpen game. The Red Sox can be shut down. If you're going to allocate a lot of this salary to this game, you're going to go really low at pitcher. And even though there are options out there, it's definitely a concern. I think if you're going to stack this game, it's only a GPP, not in cash. I'm going to fade this one, but this also has the capabilities of going off.
All right, Gary, and you're up next, and we need your Cliff Notes version as we are rapidly running out of time. But do you think, are you going to chase or fade this one?
Well, I was going to make a joke about if a couple other games get rained out, but those games are in Milwaukee and Toronto, and they have domes. So, no, this is not the best game to attack
not gonna
tonight.
work.
I mean, you got Toronto and Baltimore, who not only are bringing pretty mess starters to the table tonight, but also have the second and fourth worst bullpens in terms of ERA since the All-Star break. Then you have Homer freaking Bailey pitching in Miller Park. No, this is not the game to stack tonight.
All right, fading it. Julian, what about you? Chase or fade?
Yeah, I mean, I do like what Steve said at the end there. If you want to pay up for these bats and hope that this game goes off, there is the cheap pitching that we alluded to that you can make it happen. So if you want to try that for a GPP, you'll definitely be really contrarian. But if you read my top stacks today on the DK playbook, I have the Toronto Blue Jays #1, as Gary just spoke about. Really like them in that game. The Twins, the Brewers, the Rays, the Athletics, all those other ones were in top stacks. The Red Sox and the Indians weren't. So I think you definitely need to look elsewhere for much better value across the board.
Yep, nice plug. DraftKings.com/playbook every day, people. All right, thank you, gentlemen. We'll get Bukes' top picks of the night coming up. But for now, here is Brendan Glasheen talking how the stage is set in Buffalo for rookie QB Josh Allen with A.J. McCarron battling the injury bug.
Beat and sideline reporter Sal Capaccio joining the sweat from Bills camp. Sal, while you might not have been at practice, the indications have been that Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman are competing. They're rotating for this starting job. How do you see it shaken out so far with still a lot of time left?
Well, I would have to give a slight edge right now to Nathan Peterman, I think, if I were to handicap it today. As nice as Josh Allen's looked, and I do think he's looked really good, and I do think he's on track, and I think Bills fans should be super encouraged by what they've seen from him. Fact is that, Nathan Peterman is 17 of 20 this preseason. He's 85% passing. He looked really good after a couple of early passes, shaky start when he came in on Friday night against the Cleveland Browns. He's always been in this mix. I think far more. I was always someone this whole summer saying, don't discount Peterman, because I know the way this organization thinks, and Sean McDermott, and he's their guy. I mean, they drafted him in the 5th round. They were willing to start him in the middle of a playoff race at LA last year in lieu of Tyrod Taylor. And I think that they really have always thought that he could be a starting quarterback in this league. So as of right now, I give the edge to Peterman, but I will say Sunday against the Bengals is going to be big. And if Josh Allen can steal this thing, I think there's still room and opportunity because everybody recognizes that he definitely has the most quote-unquote talent of the quarterbacks on the roster.
Coach McDermott said position competitions will be open until they are not.
Well, guess who's back? Back again. It's the golf guys. Yes, pay attention, Jeff. You're my friend. Okay, so that's Reed Fowler. That's Reed Fowler on the right. That's Jeff Ulrich on the left. And we're here to talk about the FedEx Cup playoffs, gentlemen.
Love the matching outfits, guys. So let's get to it with over-under. So will the following players finish above or below the stated position? Now, Reed, pay attention. This is better or worse for clarification. Okay. Jeff, you're going to start us off so that Reed can watch. Brooks Koepka, over or under top 5?
This one's tough. I mean, obviously we're talking about the best player in the world right now. I don't really want to fade Brooks Koepka, but gun to my head, I'm going to say under the top 5. So worse than the top 5, I guess. Brooks, if you look, this isn't really much to go back on, but you look at his performances after his 2 major wins. He was like T19 at the Travelers and didn't play well at the RBC Canadian Open either. So I expect Brooks Koepka will probably win one of these playoff events. I think he's going to make a push for #1 in the world here, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I think we see him just get back into form a little bit and then carry forward. So I'll go with the under or the worst.
Okay, Reed, you just saw how it works. You got the example. So Brooks Koepka, over under top 5.
Yeah, I'm just going to say agree with Jeff to make it easy on myself. I agree with what he's saying. When you look at how it's usually played out, right, and how things are going with Brooks Koepka, he is one of the best, and he has a really good chance being, I believe, the number 2 or 3 player in the world as of now to be the winner after the FedEx Cup is over. But if you look at the cadence of how the playoffs are played outside of a few guys like DJ Wan last year, and he was still one of the top guys in terms of FedEx Cup standings, you want to have momentum towards the end. These guys aren't going to dial it back, but like Jeff was saying, if you look at Brooks Koepka's finishes after a victory, especially after a major, even with the week off, you do see him falter a little bit. He's mentioned it in his press conferences after, too, that he needs to get better at playing at regular PGA stops. Now, this is the playoffs, and so there is more at stake for him to do well, but I'm going to say under top. I would say inside the top 10 because Brooks Koepka is, his off the tee game is #1 strokes game of the last 24. So this guy's going to hit it far. He's going to hit in the fairway. So I'd say just inside the top 10, but inside the top 5, I think under.
Reed, you as confident as Jeff is that Brooks is going to win one of these playoff events?
Oh yeah, I mean, to win, as it gets closer and as the field gets smaller, yeah, he's going to have a better chance and probability-wise to win. I would say some of the other courses potentially set up a little bit better for him. But yeah, I'd be confident to say that he's one of the front runners to win one of these.
Oh, well then how about BRANDT SNEDEKER, guy's fresh off a win at the Wyndham Championship, although he will not be naming his daughter Wyndham like one former champion did. But will he go over or under or better or worse a top 10 finish this week, Reed?
Yeah, I think he has another good run here, so I'm going to say better and over. BRANDT SNEDEKER is a momentum player. We've seen it before in 2015, where he had 4 top 10s in a row with a runner-up. We've seen it start really early in 2016. Granted, those are easier tournaments, but he finished with the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st in January. So we've seen SNEDEKER get on these rolls where he's played really well. Again, he also mentioned it too, that once he wins one, then he can really rattle off. And again, this course doesn't set up perfectly for him because it is longer. He's a shorter hitter, but we saw it at Wyndham where his driving distance was, pretty elite in the field. Again, he shot a 59, so all he had to do really was keep shooting 3 or 4 under each day, 2 to 3 under to win the tournament. But yeah, I'd say over here, I think he's in a prime position to do well.
At $9,000, pretty good value there. Jeff, you thinking this is someone who could make that like Billy Horschel type run like he did in 2014?
Well, he's already done it. I mean, he won the FedEx Cup himself, so he can definitely make a run.
Yep.
I'm going to take the under here, though. Maybe BRANDT SNEDEKER is the guy who completely burns me this week, but he's been so up and down all season. Top 5s and then misses the cut, another top 5 and then missed the cut. It didn't really perform that well at the majors. Reed's right. He does go on these runs. He has in the past anyway. He's a little bit older now, so I still feel like this course, it's a little bit more driver-centric. It's longer than last week. It's not going to come down to as much of a putting contest as it did at the Wyndham. It doesn't mean BRANDT SNEDEKER can't play well here, but if you ask me where I'm going to take the worst or the under here. So I think he's going to be outside the top 10. I won't be shocked if he has a good playoffs. I think he's going to try and make a run at that Ryder Cup team, but I'll take the under on BRANDT SNEDEKER for this week. That $9K DraftKings price too that's a lot for BRANDT SNEDEKER.
A little pricey. Finally, guys, it's Tagga Woods, y'all. Jeff, this is his first FedEx Cup playoff in 5 seasons.
Wow,
5
that's
seasons.
like half a decade.
So is he going to go over or under top 20, Jeff?
Oh, I'm taking the way over, or the way better. I'm taking the way better. Tiger Woods is winning this week, baby. Give me a break. I mean, this is it. The Tiger's back in the playoffs. All the other people are, it's like the all-star game for half the golfers. Some of them don't care that much. Tiger Woods is getting prepped for the Ryder Cup, coming in great form. I love it. I mean, he played here back in 2010, I believe it was. He shot a 65 day one there. I'm dead serious, though. I mean, I really do feel like this is a great spot for Tiger Woods to win. I'm definitely taking the better than top 20.
Wow, dead serious? I mean, Tiger's been a meme lately. He's been all over the internet. So, Reed, what do you think? Better or worse, top 20?
Yeah, I want to say better here. I mean, to win, I think that's still he's been close, and he's been close in major tournaments. So he has a pedigree, and obviously he's one of the best in the world, if not the best. So I'm going to say over here, I'm not as bullish and not as serious as Jeff is to have Tiger Woods win.
Because you're not a believer, Reed.
Yeah, he's not, because I think he was kind of cold on dropping, 10K on him earlier.
Well, I mean, 10K is a pricey number, but at the same time, Tiger Woods, if you guys let me finish, is one of the best in the game with strokes gained approach. Like Jeff was saying, this is going to test your game off the tee. And what did we see Tiger always do when he's in contention and he pulls out driver? He doesn't do well. He doesn't need to use driver. He can club down to 3-wood. This is not necessarily a driver course. And where he really shines is his proximity and his aptitude for the long irons, the approach, and the around the green if he does miss the green and putting. So I do think he does well. I think top 15, top 10 isn't out of the question because he's, like you said, he's one of the best. He's warming up for the Ryder Cup, and he's got a strong short game. So I do think that Tiger Woods gets inside the top 20, but to win, not yet, Tiger.
Not yet.
Yeah, if he keeps that driver in the bag to final round of the PGA Championship, he wins that tournament, or if he at least can find the fairway.
Bold prediction.
Yes, that's right. Hot take central here. Before we let you guys go, we want those slate-approved picks. Your lock for the tournament. So who are you taking, Jeff?
I'm taking the same guy I took last week, Billy Horschel. He was top 6 in every single ball striking category. Now he's only 7,300. Former FedEx Cup champ. He's won multiple playoff events. Guy was a ball striking machine last week. Too bad he was putting blindfolded. Maybe he'll take the blindfold off this week, but at 7,300, too cheap. Yeah, love that. Love this play.
Putting blindfolded will not help your chances.
No,
I can confirm. Reed.
It would probably help me, to be honest.
Yes, I know, Jeff. We know.
Emerson with Captain Obvious here. Of course, blindfolding won't help your putting. I'm going with Tommy Fleetwood, 9,400. You look at strokes gained tee to green over the last 24. Where you want to go 50, 100 rounds. This guy is elite. His putting obviously needs some work, and that's what I want. I want a guy who's striking it really well. He's one of these top-tier guys that has yet to win, but he's one of the best Euro players, and we've seen what he can do in big tournaments. Just give me Tommy Fleetwood.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, we'll talk to you tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what matching outfits you'll have on.
Yeah,
then.
Let's go red tomorrow.
Appreciate it. All right, guys.
Sounds good. I can do red.
All right, red. Red it is. See you tomorrow. All right, guys.
All right.
Daniel Robertson, he's not going to be playing second base for the Rays anytime soon, as he's out for the season with an injury, but he did take the time to catch up with us recently and reveal his favorite fantasy sport.
Honestly, fantasy football. I played fantasy baseball maybe once, but it was too hard to keep up with the lineups every day and all that stuff. So I kind of X'd that one. Fantasy football, and then I did beat the streak a little bit here and there when I was younger. But yeah, I would probably just say football, man. It's easy. You deal with it once a week, and it's good. You know, every team I've been on in the minor leagues at the end of the year, we're always getting together, having a fantasy football draft. So it's kind of an in-clubhouse thing. It's a good vibe and good way to connect with your teammates and keep in touch throughout the off season as well. So it's cool.
So you talked about playing football fantasy growing up, but do you still play any now?
Oh yeah, I play fantasy football now. Still, that's it.
What are those drafts like when you're getting together with all your buddies? You go to someone's home, you go to a bar and do. What have you guys done in the past?
Last year I remember we were on the road somewhere and did it. But yeah, it's cool. It's everyone. It's almost like a draft war room. Everyone kind of come, bring your own drink or food or bring your iPad, and you got your board, there, and everyone's kind of just hanging out, playing music, and it's fun. It's just, like I said, it's a good opportunity to kind of talk some smack to your teammates and keep in touch with them throughout the off season. So it's fun, but fantasy football that's my go-to now. So
You got to find a way to stay competitive with your teammates. You know?
For sure.
Of course,
Like,
but
we're not already competitive enough, so we got to make sure we have a couple more things on our plate.
So when you were playing in the fall, who was your favorite player?
Football wise?
Yeah.
My answer is gonna hurt a lot of people, but I'm a big Chargers fan, so I always root for Phillip Rivers because everyone hates him, but I only like him because he's on my team, and he puts up huge points in fantasy every year, so and every week. So Phillip Rivers, that's my go-to guy. He's always putting up points, but if he's not, he's one of those guys. If he's not on your team, you don't like him, but he's been a Charger since I've been a fan, so, well, I take that back. Drew Brees was the quarterback, but anyways, that's my guy. But.
Yeah, I was going to say, it makes sense. You're a California kid, so, the Chargers, I'm sure, are close to your heart. No Tom Brady love?
I like Tom. I do, but I don't know. I got to go with my man, Phil. I feel like he's always been an underdog, and people don't really give him the respect he should. I know he hasn't won the playoff games or the Super Bowls, but fantasy purposes, he puts up the points you need from a quarterback. So that's all we're looking for at the end of the day.
Sounds like perfect advice.
We like the loyalty. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Hey, I appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you.
All right, welcoming back the bad boys of our baseball panel. I feel like it's been like 17 minutes or so since we've seen you guys. We've got Garion Thorne, Steve Buchanan, Julian Edlow. Thanks again for being here, gents. Yeah,
and our next segment is loved by many and hated by none. It's the self-proclaimed highest-rated segment on our show.
Steve did not seem impressed.
Put up your bukes. Steve, you give us your top 3 picks along with fantasy point projections. Julian and Garion can then jump in and argue about whether you've lost it or not. But apparently Steve is actually
we're being told by our producer Steve is frozen. So we have Garion and Julian here, though, correct?
We're
here.
All right, so guys, Steve's first pick was going to be Marco Estrada for 21 DK fantasy points. So why don't we just let you guys debate what you think about that one? Garion, Marco Estrada, 21 DK fantasy points. Do you think that's accurate?
I don't think so. I'm kind of curious as to what Steve's argument was going to be. I assume it had something to do with just how strikeout prone the Baltimore Orioles tend to be. If Pierce was here, he'd probably point out that Baltimore is one of the worst changeup hitting teams in all of baseball. That's obviously important against a guy like Marco Estrada, but you look at his numbers specifically across his last 6 starts. He's got an ERA and a FIP above 6. He's only striking out 12.5% of the opponents he faces, and he's just been so bad at Rogers Center this season, especially against right-handed bats. They're hitting 2.2 home runs per 9 off of Estrada. Now, there's not a ton of right-handed bats left in this lineup, with several people now calling other places home and Mark Trumbo on the DL, but yeah, I am not feeling Marco Estrada tonight.
So, Garion, we actually just decided that was such a good answer. We're just going to go straight to Thorn in My Side.
Yep.
A segment we were saving for later in the show.
We're going to give you all 3 this time.
All 3 this time. So,
amazing.
Are you ready for this? Just go for it.
Curveball, buddy.
Yeah, curveball. Who is the first thorn in your side? Julian, get in your notes, get in there, and just try to figure out what your rebuttal is going to be. So, Garion, your first thorn, please.
Well, I think Steve might be back. He's moving around there.
Yeah,
but,
he's back, but he lost his place.
Fair enough. But I'm sure he'll still find discontent with my picks. Let's start with Chris Archer. And I'm not 100% sure that many people are going to be gravitating towards Archer tonight, but there's not a lot of strikeout upside on this slate. For as much as Julian is correct, there are guys you can use below $8,000 tonight. There's no debate that Archer would, in a vacuum, have the most strikeout upside of any of those pitchers, so maybe that will entice some people. But I'm here to warn just how bad, terrible, he's been against left-handed bats so far this season, which is important against most teams, but especially important against the Atlanta Braves, who 2 through 6 tonight will have left-handed batters in their lineup. Not only does he allow 1.35 home runs per 9 to left-handed batters, not only does his WOBA go up to 345 against lefties, but his strikeout rate falls below 22% against left-handed bats. And Atlanta specifically, their left-handed bats in left-on-right situations this season have struck out in less than 18% of their plate appearances. So I know there's a little bit more win expectancy now that Kevin Gausman's not on board, but I am still not touching Archer tonight.
Okay, Chris Archer, $7,800. Steve, you're back. What's
Welcome.
up?
Welcome back.
We're now doing Thorn in your side. So Thorn in my side, Chris Archer, $7,800. Gary's saying fade him. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I come back on. I hear you guys talking about Marco Estrada. So you're talking behind my back. I mean, way to take shots when I can't defend
Don't
myself.
worry, we'll give you your
We'll
shot.
give you your bukes. You can still put them up.
Settle
Don't
down.
worry.
Cold
All right.
Don't
shower.
worry.
Well, let's talk about Chris Archer. I mean, a real tough guy to pick on. Someone who's averaged 11.8 DK fantasy points since he was traded to the Pirates. Yeah, a lot of people are on Chris Archer tonight. You're really dissuading a lot of people here. Look, he has a ton of issues against lefties. He's going to be facing a lineup that's heavy with them. He does possess that high K upside, but guess who's not striking out much? The Braves, 17.6 K percentage over the last 2 weeks. Come on, pick somebody that people might actually be playing tonight. Nobody's touching Archer.
My friend, you can't play Zach Wheeler twice. You have to pick a second pitcher. And I'd really like a recommendation on who your second pitcher is then.
Great
Why don't we
question.
talk to Julian? Let Julian speak. Go ahead, Julian. He's got some knowledge.
I'll chime in here. So, I mean, Chris Archer, I do agree with some of the things that Garion said, and the strikeout upside is definitely there. But like Steve said, this guy's thrown between 95 and 98 pitches in each of his 3 starts with the Pirates and failed to make it past 5 innings pitched in any of them. So yes, he's going to strike some guys out, 16 strikeouts in those 3 games, but he just hasn't been getting it done. Hasn't topped more than 13.7 DraftKings points as a member of the Pirates. So if I'm looking for somebody in this price range, I might want to pay $6,800 for a guy named Marco Estrada going against the Orioles. But it seems like we are going to touch on that segment later. The highest rated segment, if you don't show up for your own segment, it's probably going to plummet.
Yeah. Listen, we're not going to lie. It's
Julian,
not
from the top rope.
not a good look for you tonight, Steve.
Yeah. Okay, so your first Thorn, Garion, you got a little bit of pushback from the guys. Let's hear your second one.
This one might spark better debate. Jed Jerko, who since the beginning of this season has been, oh crap, I only have $4,000 left against the lefty. Who am I throwing in there? Jed Jerko, of course, because the numbers are phenomenal. I can't deny that. He has crushed southpaw pitching so far this season. The problem is his isolated power pitch by pitch against lefties is so heavily weighted on the 4-seam fastball. That isolated power up above 530. Off left-handed 4-seamers in 2018. The issue here being Alex Wood has thrown exactly 0 4-seam fastballs to right-handed batters so far this season. He is very, very sinker-heavy. Jed Jerko does not have a single extra base hit off a left-handed pitcher's sinker so far this season. Generally, I'm playing Jerko against a lefty, but not this specific lefty.
All right, in the interest of making sure Garion can get to all 3 of his Thorns, we're going to need you to speed through this. Julian, Jed Jerko, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree here. He has been a guy that you plug and play against lefties and generally produces. I don't know anything about what Garion just said, and I don't know how you even do that research that he just mentioned, but I do know that there are better options at $4,000 that I would much rather play than Jed Jerko on this slate.
Steve, what about you? Jed Jerko, are there options you would rather play?
I mean, it's at Dodger Stadium. It's not a good park for Jerko. He's a little too expensive for my liking because he's facing Alex Wood, so nah.
Getting a little freezy on us there, Steve, making me a little nervous. All right, Garion,
Good grief,
your
man.
third Thorn, I would like to point out that we have made it to your third Thorn.
It's a small victory,
Yes.
small victory. I'll be quick, though. Jose Abreu, really, this doesn't have that much to do with Abreu, aside from the fact his strikeout rate, while being great against lefties this season, has risen up above 25%. This is mostly about how much I want to play Steven Gonzalez. I just have so much Steven Gonzalez against a White Sox lineup that is striking out almost 5% more often than any other team in the month of August that I can't really commingle those shares with any Jose Abreu. So I don't know how these guys feel about Gonzalez, but I got a lot of them tonight.
Steve, Abreu, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Abreu's best left for a GPPs tonight. I mean, obviously, Garion loves this kid. I mean, he might take him out for a beer after the game or something, by the way he's talking about him.
I don't even know if he can
best
drink in
left.
the States. How old is he?
What about you, Julian? Are you going to fade him or what?
Yeah, I'm siding with Garion here. This Steven Gonzalez kid looks to be the real deal. We haven't seen anything in the major leagues yet, but he has a sub-3 ERA. He has almost 1 strikeout per inning in the minors. He looks to be prepared for his first MLB start, and he gets to do it against a really poor lineup that strikes out a ton. So Jose Abreu and really the rest of the White Sox, I'm not too interested. I'm much more interested, as I keep mentioning, paying down at pitcher. $5,400 for Steven Gonzalez. That's a guy that interests me much more than Jose Abreu.
All right, pay down.
Thank you, guys. We have put up your bukes to the bottom of the show because Steve can't get his stuff together. We will see you shortly. Now it is time to help you guys figure out a strategy when it comes to stacking teams, and that's with Alex Jankowski.
It's time to start thinking about strategy when it comes to drafting hitters in the MLB. Today we're going to focus on a basic strategic principle, stacking. If you've played football on DraftKings before, you're likely familiar with the concept. But for those who aren't, stacking is when you construct your roster to include several players from the same team. This could be because the team is doing really well or is in a prime matchup, or maybe it's just your favorite team and you want another reason to root for them. Regardless of the reason, many of which we'll dive into throughout the year, stacking is a must when it comes to DFS baseball because it's the best way to fully capitalize on any run-scoring play. An RBI single scores 5 DK points for the hitter, 3 for the hit and 2 for the run it bats in. The base runner also earns 2 DK points for the run he scores, and that doesn't include the points he accrued when he reached base. If a team puts up multiple runs in an inning and you had exposure to the 4 hitters who are responsible for the runs and the RBI, that, my friends, is a recipe for success.
All right, guys, DK News Alert. So we mentioned earlier in the show, Brendan Glasheen had it, but let's see. McCarron is going to be out for the Bills this week. He's got a messed up collarbone.
Yeah.
So that means Josh Allen, A.J. McCarron. So Josh Allen, the rookie, who the Bills moved up for to take in the first round of the draft, he's going to get his first start. Yes, it's week 3 in the NFL preseason. Let's bring in a couple guys here who know a thing or two about the NFL. Karn, I want to get your reaction. Has Josh Allen kind of showed you enough? I know it's only been a couple preseason games here, but you think this guy's kind of ready to take over this starting role already?
Not as a starter, no, but as getting the start. It's that time with McCarron going down. Like you kind of figured that he was going to have to start and probably going to play a lot the rest of the preseason, get a lot of the snaps. But I would be really hesitant on sending that guy out week 1.
All right, we got Jerry here as well from RotoWire. What kind of opportunity will this present, Mr. Allen?
Sorry, I just joined in. Are you referring to the McCarron injury?
Yeah, referring to McCarron injury and Josh Allen getting the start here this week in week 3. I mean, just what kind of opportunity will this present him?
I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for him to get that work at a game. They've been rotating him in with the starters, all throughout training camp, so it won't be a totally new thing. But yeah, definitely he'll probably get more snaps, won't have to share as much with McCarron. I'm still not necessarily sold that he'll be the week 1 starter, but he's at least got that chance now.
Yeah, if let's say he has the week 1 starter, I mean, how much fantasy value are you even giving this guy?
Listen, when one of the best cornerbacks in the league calls you trash,
the best cornerback.
I'm just
Jalen
never
Ramsey
going to
is the
have
best
that much
quarterback.
confidence in you.
Other news of the day, though, guys, All Day is back. So Adrian Peterson, according to NFL Network, is going to sign a 1-year deal with the Washington Redskins. So I want to know from you, Karin, because I know the injury bug has been just feasting on this running backs group. So what's the fantasy value of Adrian Peterson here?
I really don't know, and this is a really good question because this is kind of weird to me because it kind of seems like they're bringing him in as like an insurance policy. Like, hey, we got this all-time great guy. If everyone gets hurt and the offense is stalling, we can just give it to him. But as we saw in New Orleans, we don't know for sure if Adrian Peterson wants to play that mentor, veteran guy role in the locker room and kind of help out the younger guys. Like, does he still want to play? Does he still think he's the guy from Minnesota? So I'm really kind of, stuck in the middle on this because I don't know how this is really going to play out. I just feel like it's going to be very entertaining at some point, but I don't know how many points you can put to that.
Yeah, he's got a good opportunity here to climb this depth chart. So, Jerry, has his fantasy value, I mean, you see this kind of shooting up through the roof here?
No, I mean, I honestly think it's about as good of a situation as he could have hoped for. But even having said that, it's, the best. I just don't think, he's anywhere near the same player. And he's a guy who never has, even at his best, didn't offer much in the passing game, couldn't be trusted as a blocker. So even if, that you get him out there on the practice field and he looks a little bit better than Kelly and P. Ryan running the ball, it's going to be tough to put him on the field regularly. And I just don't see him getting enough opportunities.
Yeah, I know he had those 6 games last year with the Cardinals, cracked 100 yards in a couple of them, but then screwed up his neck in December. So we'll have to see how healthy he is. Obviously, I don't think the Redskins sign him if he's not.
All right, guys. Well, now we got the news out of the way. How about some chase or fade? So we're going to do agree or disagree with the ADP of the following wide receivers. Now, these are guys who are looking for a bounce-back campaign, talking PPR leagues, and starting with Josh Gordon of the Browns, wide receiver 27. Are you chasing or fading this ADP, Karin?
I'll chase it. I'm really excited to see Josh Gordon on Hard Knocks. That's what I'm looking for.
That makes 2 of us, kid. That makes 2 of us.
I just want to see how this all pans out, given the last 2 weeks. And that whole team with their wide receivers and Jarvis Landry giving these great speeches in the wide receivers room. I'm very interested to see how it goes. And if this works out really well for him, this can be really good pickup. But if it doesn't, as it has gone in the past, it can go really bad. So I'm like, why not chase it?
Yeah, he has sat out 2 full seasons due to suspensions. So Jerry, what do you think? ADP 27 on this one?
I'll chase on that too. Yeah. Not by a lot, but I'd probably put him closer to 23, 24. So I think you're getting a little bit of value there, maybe by half a round or so. After the first 15 wide receivers, it starts to look like a lot of the same to me. You're looking at different pros and cons with different guys, but there's really like 30 guys in there that I'm like having a hard time differentiating them by more than a couple of rounds. So if you're looking at that, why not take a shot on Josh Gordon's upside?
All right, so let's take a guy then who is coming earlier than 15 rather here, Jerry. Wide receiver 12 for Amari Cooper. How close is that? How accurate is that in your opinion?
That's too high for me. Okay. I've got him more in like the 16 to 20 range. And I just haven't, in best ball leagues and whatnot, I just haven't found myself even considering him as a draft pick anywhere. Initially when I heard, about the John Gruden coming, I was kind of excited because he has such a strong history with number 1 receivers of guys putting up 1,000 yards and at least a handful of touchdowns, every team in Tampa Bay, every team in Oakland. But looking back, it was almost all, the exception of Michael Clayton's rookie season, older guys in their late 20s or 30s. So when they brought in Jordy Nelson, makes me wonder a little bit about just where the targets are going to go. Mm-hmm. Then Martavis Bryant on top of that. And then he seems committed to the running game too, in a weird way. So combining, Cooper's bust last season with the uncertainty about what kind of volume he's going to get, I can't pull the trigger at 12.
Where do you sit on this, Karin? How accurate is wide receiver 12 for you?
That's way too high for me as well. And just like he said, like between the combination of the receivers they have right now, and the the dream scenario of John Gruden just losing his mind and giving it to Marshawn Lynch all the time and going straight Chucky mode, I don't see how you could value Amari Cooper that high, coming off his last season. Like, I just wouldn't trust it at that number.
Yeah, I know Gruden has kind of talked very old school. It seems like he's going to go back to like the smash mouth football. Where would you take Cooper, Karin?
19, 20,
okay.
21, somewhere around there.
Just want to make sure people at home know where our experts are going with that.
All right, guys. Well, we do have a showdown contest tonight between the Ravens and Colts. So give us your slate approved, your lock of the night. Who do you think could have a big game in this preseason meeting? Jerry, who do you think?
Okay, I'm a huge Ravens fan, season ticket holder and everything. So I want to say Lamar Jackson, but that's going to be probably the obvious pick for a lot of people, the fun pick. So I'm actually going to go with Nyheim Hines from the Colts. I think when you're looking at preseason contests, a lot of it is just about where there's a thinned out depth chart and just who's going to be forced to get the ball. And you look at the Colts, the Ravens, for starters, are incredibly healthy, which I'm happy about as a fan. But for a preseason contest, it's going to make it hard to find value. The Colts have Turbin, Mack, dealing with injuries right now. So I think Hines and Wilkins are going to get a lot of looks. And Hines being the pass catcher, the two on a PPR site, leaning towards that.
Jerry doing a great job of taking off the fan hat and putting on the analyst hat. So, Karin, who do you think is going to have a big showing tonight?
I'm a fun guy, and I like easy, so I'm going to take Lamar Jackson because that's what Lamar Jackson does, show up in big-time moments, and we're going to actually get to see him on national TV, so why not? But given all that I just said and me putting the pressure and the stamp on him, that means he's probably going to play bat now, but I'm still going to pick him.
All right. Hey, standing by your pick. I like it.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you, too. And we also appreciate Adam Kaufman catching up with former Cy Young Award winner David Cone at the DK Fantasy Baseball World Championships.
With just a baseball legend, David Cone, a man who, I mean, really you need no introduction. So much success. 17 years in the majors, is that right?
That's right, yeah, 5 different teams and a couple of stops here and there, but, you know, all pretty lucky.
And you pitched, we're in New York for the Fantasy Baseball World Championships. You played for both teams in New York. Can I ask you to pick a favorite? Is that allowed?
You know, I'm still a closet Met fan, even though I work for the Yankees, but I won 4 championships with the Yankees, so, you know, it's hard not to love the Yankees when you win rings.
I was going to say, you've won 5 World Series in your career. Like, I looked at that, my first reaction was like, share the wealth a little bit, man.
Yeah, the luck of the draw. I mean, I was on some great teams. I was the hired gun. The Mets traded me to Toronto the first time, and it kind of set in motion that hired gun role, and I was lucky, right in the right place at the right time.
Well, and me being a Red Sox fan, you had the 1 year in Boston toward the end of your career, and it was it was a fun year. It was a good team, some injuries. We talked about that a little bit off the air, but I mean, you kind of made your way around the AL East for one. What was just sort of that experience like, going to a couple, anyway, very passionate fan bases on either side of that rivalry?
Passionate fan bases, and the ballparks are tough on pitchers. So if you think about it, Camden Yards, even Toronto's ballpark, the ball flies, and of course, Yankee Stadium in Fenway Park. I mean, what can you say?
Well, I was talking to David Wells. He told me he wanted to put the dynamite to Fenway Park. Hated Fenway.
I love Fenway. I mean, there's no place like it. There's really Fenway Park and Wrigley Field that are the old ballparks that have that feel. And to me, the energy there is priceless.
We're, you know, this experience, just in talking about the World Series, I mean, what these guys here are going through, I mean, this is their World Series, basically. You know, there's a lot of money on the line for them, and it's a real intense sweat as they watch these games. I know it doesn't compare to being out in the mound at Yankee Stadium for the World Series and in that type of competition, but what just the mental side of things? What do you suppose these guys are going through as things heat up deeper into games?
It's hard not to second guess yourself, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've got so many decisions to make and split-second decisions on who your lineup's going to be, and then once you throw it out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
And all you're left to do is watch. So you kind of get a feel of both. You get to be a general manager. You get to choose your talent and match your wits with somebody like a Brian Cashman or Dave Dombrowski.
Who do you think wins the World Series this year? Obviously, I mean, you got the Red Sox at the top of baseball. You got the Yankees right there and may have to deal with a wild card game, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah, it is. Yankees will maybe win over 100 games, and it's one and done for them.
Yeah.
So the Red Sox deserve all the credit in the world. They have the best record. They're the hottest team. They're going to be tough to beat, without a doubt. But I really think Cleveland has a great team, you know, with their pitching. Houston, obviously, with their starting rotation, and they've kind of beefed up their bullpen. In the American League, there's at least 4 teams, even the Yankees you throw in there, that could easily win the World Series, and you'd say, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So to me, it's highly competitive.
I feel like there are so few Yankees, and you're still very much associated as a Yankee, that even as a Red Sox fan or just someone who didn't like the Yankees, and I think you would probably revel in being, you know, a team that's hated because it means you're good. You know, it's like the Patriots. Everyone hates the Patriots because they're good. You know, you look at, like, everyone loved and respected, even if you didn't root for the Yankees, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Bernie Williams, you know, not like your broadcast partner, Paul O'Neill. Didn't come in that category. What's that like, though?
You know, I enjoy it. I agree with you. You know, I mean, Star Wars doesn't work without Darth Vader.
Right.
So you kind of need that, and you see that wherever the Yankees go. When I played for the Red Sox for the year, you see that as too. Red Sox Nation travels.
Right.
The West Coast and the Midwest, you see Red Sox fans everywhere. You see Yankee fans everywhere. And if you look at the attendance on the road, they're at the top two. It's usually Yankees-Red Sox because their fans follow.
This is great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, we're back with our baseball trio of Gary Thorne, Steve Buchanan, and Julian Edlow to wrap up the show. Thanks for being back here, guys.
So we tried to put up your bukes earlier, but since it's such a popular segment,
it's actually loved by many and hated by none.
Great. Yeah. Well, the internet broke, so Steve couldn't even give us his 3 bukes here. So let's go with your first one, which we told everyone was Marco Estrada, and we actually heard how Garion feels about this one already. But can you explain to us and Garion and the people at home why you're projecting 21 DK fantasy points for this guy?
Well, Garion's going to have to give me a refresher because I'm sure it was a real doozy on why he didn't like him tonight. But look, I mean, he's facing this club that he's already averaged 17.1 DK fantasy points against. 10 innings he went against him, 6 runs on 10 hits with a K9 of 12.6. I mean, this Orioles club has a 26.6 K percentage over the last 2 weeks, which is the second highest in the league during that time span. Look, Estrada's numbers aren't great, but he's one of those guys at matched up base. He can absolutely be used. I mean, he's definitely had some good outings already this season, and he's going up against a really poor Orioles club. So on a night where you're not really paying high for pitching, I don't think there's any reason not to take Estrada tonight. But I know Garion's going to come up with some crazy thing, like, it's a Monday, or, the sun's not too bright today, something like that. But go ahead, Garion, refresh our memories.
Yeah, Garion, please remind Steve why this is a ridiculous pick.
Well, I mean, I get my statistics off the internet, not out of like a 1980s almanac. But I will say that, he's viable. Baltimore makes anyone viable. But if you really look into the numbers across his last 6 starts, as I said, there's just no strikeout upside here. I mean, it's chicken and the egg. Can Baltimore strike out enough to make Marco Estrada somehow actually get a ball past a batter, which he hasn't done across his last 6 starts? 12.5% strikeout rate. That is Bartolo Colon-esque. And he's also given up home runs like he's Bartolo Colon. So I don't have Marco Estrada in any of my lineups. I'm not saying it's a complete avoid, but it's something that I'm definitely not doing.
He's also about 200 pounds lighter, so there's that.
That is true.
Julian, so Baltimore makes anyone viable. Do the Orioles make Marco Estrada 21 DK fantasy points viable?
The Orioles absolutely make Marco Estrada 21 DK fantasy point viable. Wow. He just had 28.5 DK points against him the last time they faced each other in Toronto, where this game is being played tonight. The guy that has done the most damage in his career to Marco Estrada has been Mark Trumbo, who just went on the DL and is not in the lineup. And I even have a number to dispute Garion here, a real statistic. This Orioles lineup career has almost a 33% strikeout rate against Marco Estrada. Yes, it might go back to 2012 or 2011 or whatever years you guys want to talk about. But the bottom line is these bats strike out nearly 1/3 of the time against Marco Estrada. So yes, for 6,800, I want Marco Estrada tonight.
Wow.
He just had one of these starts against Kansas City. He went 6 2/3. He went 6 2/3 and couldn't even score 13 DraftKings points in a game he won. Ooh. He can't strike anyone out.
You know what the good news is, though? He's not facing the Royals, so that's good. We'll check that box off.
So when I like the Jays, I'm biased. When I hate the Jays, I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. I got it, Steve.
No, it's okay. We'll worry about what he did against the Royals because that matters. Let's go to Max Kepler for 16 DK fantasy points. He's number 2 for tonight. This game has a very high run total for tonight, 9.5 runs it opened up. So if Kepler's going to go up against Giolito, who against lefties, 374 WOBA with a 6.16 FIP. Kepler at home against righties has been phenomenal. 388 WOBA, 225 isolated power with 7 of his 16 home runs. Kepler is just way too cheap for the type of power that he has in these type of matchups at just 3,900 tonight. His spot in the order also usually keeps him off the twin stacks because he's near the lower part of the order. So I feel like Kepler is a really nice sneaky play tonight with some power upside in a matchup that should draw a lot of runs tonight.
Julian, how do you feel about Max Kepler and projected at 16 DK fantasy points?
Yeah, I actually like Max Kepler a lot. 16, we're kind of banking on a home run right here, but thankfully, Giolito's been a terrible pitcher, a 6.15 ERA. And to get Kepler for under $4,000, I think is a really good deal. Kepler homered yesterday, and Steve mentioned his spot in the lineup. He's actually batting 5th tonight, so he's going to be right in there in the heart of the order in a fantastic matchup. So I think this is definitely a viable play if you want to pay down in the outfield.
How viable of a play is this for you, Garion?
I tried. I really tried. I even separated it into like June 1st and on for Giolito because he's been not good, but like better than the atrocious mess he was to start the season. But even since June the 1st at 344 WOBA to left-handed bats, some of that, yes, is walk dependent, but target field plays so much better to left-handed bats than it does right-handed bats. Giolito's bad. That White Sox bullpen also bad. I think Kepler is very, very much a good play tonight.
All right, Steve.
Steve,
Wow.
you look like you were just going to start laughing during that one.
Well, because, this is the best segment on here. I mean, I get people to agree. We're supposed to debate, but everyone's like, yeah, Steve, you're right. That's a good play. I mean, that's what we do here.
Stop
That's why it's
agreeing with him, everybody.
Yeah, everybody just can't help but agree with Steve, apparently.
Who's your third one, bud?
I'm going to go with Tony Kemp for 16 DK fantasy points. I just checked. The Astros still haven't given out their lineup. I don't know what they're waiting for. So who knows if he's even going to be in the lineup tonight. But who cares? I mean, he faces Felix Hernandez. I mean, he's already back in the rotation. They just shoved his ass out of here, and now he's already back in the rotation. That's just how bad the Mariners are for pitching right now against lefties. The former king. 360 WOBA with a 5.47 FIP. 12 of his 21 home runs allowed. I mean, Kemp has decent power against righties. 172 ISO with all 5 of his home runs allowed. I don't see Felix Hernandez succeeding in this spot at all. So I'm more than willing to take another outfielder who's 3,900 tonight. He's not going to cost you a lot if you want to pay up at first base. Like for Aguilar, this is a great opportunity to get Kepler and Kemp in there, barring he's in the lineup. But I think both of these guys can help save some salary. They got some pop in their bat, and they're really not going to run you for much money.
Gary, and you like the idea of rostering Tony Kemp for $3,900?
In theory, yeah. I mean, I would 100% agree with Steve if we had the certainty of not just him being in the lineup. I mean, I think he's going to be in there. It's more where he's hitting. They've really been moving him around the last couple of weeks. He was batting leadoff for a time, although that was a little injury dependent. He was 5th a couple nights. He's been 9th some nights. So I would say if he's above 7th in the order at that price point, sure, because Felix Hernandez is hot garbage. Like I've been harping on this since the beginning of the season. He's not good. He's 5th in zone contact rate. He can't strike anybody out. His fastball's terrible, so it ruined his changeup. 1.83 home runs per 9 to left-handed bats. Even the righties. I wrote up Gaddis and Bregman today in my article on Playbook. Yeah, get as many Astros in there as you can, but not the one who's hitting 9th if Tony Kemp happens to be batting 9th.
Julian, I'm not seeing the Astros here on your top stacks of the night.
You are not seeing them there. That is correct. I'm looking to go in other directions here. I, too, have been keeping an eye for that Astros lineup so that I could make fun of Steve when Tony Kemp is not in it. Garion thinks that Tony Kemp will be in the lineup. He might. I get it. It's a left-handed bat versus Felix Hernandez. I'll just fade Tony Kemp being in the lineup altogether. So, no, why would I play him?
All right.
Why do you have to be like that? Like, why wouldn't you play him if he was in? It makes no sense.
Great follow-up, Steve.
That is a good question, Steve. You gave me a good pick already at 3,900 in Max Kepler. I would much rather play Max Kepler than Tony Kemp. There's a way better home run chance there where you can buy into these 16 DK points. I don't want to play small ball Tony Kemp and hope that he hits like a couple of triples or something and gets us this. You mentioned he has 5 home runs on the season. I want power.
All right, guys, I have a bonus question for you. A bonus question for you that I need an answer on. Steve, you're going to start this one off. I hope you're feeling confident. Is tonight a night to stack against Derek Holland? What do you think?
No, Holland's been sneaky good. I mean, he usually has his struggles against righties, but I mean, he's been containing that as well. I think Holland is someone you can absolutely throw out in GPPs. I wouldn't put him in cash, but I mean, Holland has not been getting the what he deserves this season in form of praise. He's been good, and he's got some good strikeout upside as well.
Gary, what about you? You think Holland's been flying under the radar, or do you want to stack against him?
He's been fine. The problem here is he's been awful even with this recent success as soon as he leaves AT&T. Now, Citi Field is not exactly a hitter's oasis, so he's not going from San Francisco to Colorado. It's not quite that extreme, but there are a couple bats I don't mind in that order tonight. I mean, Ahmed Rosario, since the All-Star break, is really hit lefties well. It's only a 24 plate appearance sample size. So I'd say mini stack. I'm not putting 3 Mets in my lineup because I probably can't find 3 I like.
All right, what about you, Julian? Derek Holland, you think he's good, or do you want to stack against him?
Yeah, I'll say, I guess in a GPP, you can go ahead and stack against him for all the reasons that these guys just said. They're not thinking about doing that because it's the Mets and it's in Citi Field. So the Mets lineup, yes, Derek, I mean, these guys are right. Holland has been kind of good. You know who else has been sneaky good? The Mets have actually been putting up runs lately. They had that, 24-run outburst the other day against the Phillies. So this is all of a sudden a lineup that can have 24-run outbursts. I guess I'll take some of these right-handed bats and see what they can do. But again, this is really just for low ownership in a GPP to really differentiate yourself.
All right, real quick, guys, before we get you out of here, let's go slate approved. All three of you, your lock of the night, your must play tonight can be from any of these segments that we talked about. Steve, start us off.
Got to be Zach Wheeler, no doubt.
Wheeler wagon.
I know all you guys like Zach Wheeler. Does anyone have someone other than Zach Wheeler? Gary, and who do you have?
Yeah, I love Zach Wheeler, but I've paired him a lot with Steven Gonzalez. Let's ride this $5,400 train together.
Let's go.
Sounds good to me. I have the money. We all do. Yeah. All right, Julian.
As much as I like both of those guys, I like paying down even more next to Wheeler and get yourself some Bryce Wilson. This guy's a 3.27 ERA in 23 starts in the minors, 139 Ks in 123 innings. His last game in AAA before getting called up, 8 shutout innings with 13 Ks, 1 hit. Give me this guy against the Starling Marte Liss Pirates line.
All right, you guys all did a fantastic job pointing out the great bargains available for everyone at home tonight. Lots of guys with high value.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Later.
All right, so Emerson, did you learn anything today on the sweat?
I learned that occasionally Steve Buchanan's internet really sucks.
It doesn't work, yeah. And I learned that Jeff and Reed both think Tiger is actually going to finish in the top 20, but nobody has a lot of confidence on him to like.
Yeah, and Reed didn't want to drop the 10K on him either. So
that is expensive.
It is expensive, but if it's going to be a top 20 finish, yeah, seriously.
That's true. All right, guys, this has been The Sweat. I'm Jesse. He's Emerson. And guess what? We're going to be right here again tomorrow at 6 p.m., so be sure to tune in.